I could get into a lot of that aspect, but I don't have time on all of this, because you can go into one aspect of something and teach days on it. Just on the enchanters and what it all means and what they do and the results. Okay, but that's common. A witch. Now, witches today in America have come to the forefront. It's politically correct now to be a witch and a warlock. It's politically correct to be a Satanist and a pagan. They're very proud of being a pagan today. No longer are the witches, the homosexuals, the lesbians, the weirdos, the kooks, the crazy. No longer are they doing things behind the scenes. They're totally out in the open. They're in your face. They're everywhere. They're in the motion pictures. They're on the television. They're in the printed page. They're behind pulpits, preachers. They're everywhere. They're in politics. They're in religions. They're in science. They're everywhere. All these crazies have come to the forefront. Why? Because the Christians have retreated from the field of battle. When Christians were strong, these kind of demons, friend, hid themselves. They were there, but they didn't come out publicly. Now, since the Christians have got cold feet, and they've compromised with all the demons in the land, and they have become demonized themselves, now they want to even embrace these things, pagans are taking over the world. They're taking over this country. Now, the Christians are the enemies. So there you have it. Cowards. When's the last time you ever heard of a preacher standing up giving these definitions? He'd never do it in his church. No way, honey, because his church is full of these kind of people. Jesus. I mean, I've worked in organizations, Christian organizations. They had Satanists there, they had witches in them, and everything. They couldn't fire them because they were covered by the government. So, they're now on the forefront. And now they're cursing the Christians. And Christians are being cursed because they got no defense anymore, because they've thrown their shields away, got rid of their helmets, buried their swords, and slipped off their sandals and hid them under the bed. Okay, a witch. There's nothing wrong with white witchcraft, General. I mean, it's just harmless. Just have a little fun. Go ahead and have a little fun. Probably those by means of drugs. How many Christians are on drugs, my friend? You say, well, I don't take those old drugs out there on the streets. Oh, you take them from your doctor, the sorcerer. You go to your sorcerer and get plenty of pills, don't you, Christian? You pop them by the pounds. I don't know one Christian out there in La La Land it's not on a drug, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. We've had them in here so drugged out of their mind they didn't know they're bucked from a hole in the ground. That's the truth. And they beg for medication. Almost all Christians today are on some sort of medication. It's nothing but pure sorcery and witchcraft. Now, friends, it doesn't have to be sold underground to be illegal. You can get legal drugs that will curse you just as much as illegal drugs. Come on, get serious. Just because a guy in a white robe comes and offers you a bunch of pills that has a PhD name attached to the end of his name doesn't mean he's anything but a sorcerer. Most doctors and medical people are sorcerers. Pure and simple. And I'll say it to their face. I have said it to their face. They drug people. Using herbs. I'm not saying all herbs are wrong. We use herbs in here. There are herbs in the Bible that can be used for health. But it depends on, friend, who you buy it from, who you get your counsel from, and who you offer it to. Well, we know pagans always offer this up to their God, whoever their God is. Even if they call him God, as we understand the Bible, obviously it's not the same God we know, because God forbids a lot of this stuff, offering these type of drugs to gods, and then you taking them to get rid of things that's wrong with you. I mean, just in old raw Africa, they just call them medicine men. Here they call them medicine men, or witch doctors. Let's just get serious. Go to the witch doctor, get a potion for your ailments, and take it, and get cursed. And Christians are cursed. Perfumes, and it says, pretended to bring certain celestial influences to their aid. Of course, we know that there are things that can heal you in the realm of medicines, and even I am not against all medicines. If God says it's okay to do that, but seek God first. Seek God. I'm not one of those people who believe that you can't touch an aspirin and all those things. We should always seek the Lord first. If He says okay, then it's okay, because the covering will be there. What God does not want is us to run to the sorcerers, the witch doctors, the medicine men or ladies to get things before we go to Him. Now that's the truth of the matter, because He's a jealous God. And a lot of things they use have cures in them, but He does not want us to seek after them first.
Thus says the Lord.
Amen.
Cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength, whose heart turns away from the Lord.
Go back up to verse 9. It says, when thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do. Now I want you to notice how this is worded. Thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There is nothing wrong with learning, but don't learn these things to practice them. We are learning right now about heathen practices. I have studied these things as a Christian, but I am not studying to practice them. I'm studying to know how to refute them. And I'm studying to know what they have, the effect they have on people, to know how to deal with it. See, I'm studying and learning for different reasons than to practice these things. There's where you get in trouble, is to learn to practice these type of things. How to become an enchanter, how to become a channeler. Oh, Jesus, churches are full of channelers today calling themselves prophets and prophetesses, and they're nothing but devils in human bodies for the most part. Well, we've met a lot of these cuties out there thinking they're with God, and all the time they're really under the influence of demons. Cast devils out of them. You'll see. They'll come screaming like a demon out, brother. Okay, so there you have it. It's nothing wrong with learning and getting knowledge if you get it for the right reasons. Just don't learn it to practice these things. Charmer, one who uses spells. A peculiar conjunction as a term implies of words or things, trying knots or tying knots. There's all kinds of things that people do out there in La La Land, friend. I mean, in the witchcraft world, they do the most bizarre things. The most bizarre things. And I'll tell you, witchcraft is real. You could just... You don't see so much of it raw in America. I mean, it's coming up, but you just go to the raw Africa and you go to those places like we've been, and it's always in the paper how people are cursed. They cut people open. They find all kinds of pins and needles and balls of twine. I mean, when people's places curse on others, they find all these things that kills them. It's in the paper constantly, like in Nigeria especially, I can remember. And witches can actually fly in the night. That's where you get flying on broomsticks. They can take certain potions and curse people. They can give you potions to make you a sex object and make people lust after you. I mean, there is 1,001 things that those people over there do. You can go to the black market and you can buy body parts in the market, penises, parts of women's vagina. You can buy breast. You can buy fingers, arms, legs, tongues, eyes, nose. You can buy all kinds of parts in the marketplace for the sole reason of putting curses on people. Say if you want to curse a person that they can't produce children, go buy a private part, put a curse on it, and they can't have children, or they're die of some disease in that area. It happens all the time. It's scary. But it's there. In the open. We've seen it. Oh, I talked about a charmer, consorter with familiar spirits, wizard, necromancer. All these things, that's communicating with the dead. Your bodies are dead, but your spirit's not dead. Even the witch Endor could call up Samuel in those days and commune with his spirit. Although he was a Christian, a prophet of God, that witch had the power to call up his spirit. That's before Jesus broke that curse, the power thereof. And they could consult wizards and familiar spirits. It was even in past in those days that all witches should be put to death because they did have power. It did work. So don't think this is funny stuff, Christians. That's just cute. And you could watch these cute little television shows and read cute little books about the occult and think there's nothing wrong with that. It's harmless. Friend, it doesn't matter if it's a cartoon or in real bloody color. It has the same power. Why do you think so many children are demonic anymore? Because they're crazy. Why do you think there's so many children on Prozac and these high-powered drugs? Because they can't control and handle children anymore because they're highly demonized. How did that come about? Mostly through television viewing. Cartoons and that kind of stuff. And little play objects they get. This is not funny stuff. This is real stuff. It's an abomination for Christians to even delve in this, and yet Christians, even being Christmas season now, the Christians will go out and buy all this junk that's totally offered to foreign gods, and Christians will go buy it for their little child. And the little children will be cursed by it. How ignorant it all is. You say, well, I can't have any fun. Well, go ahead, get cursed. Have all the fun you want. Let your kid commit suicide. Plenty of that going on. All right, I'm about out of time again, but let me get back on some of these works of the devil. I only got about a third through my list. The last one I talked about, I believe, was counterfeit worship. I want to give a few more scriptures. You'll also find it also in Deuteronomy 32:17, 2 Chronicles 11:15, Psalms 106:37, 1 Corinthians 10:30, Revelations 9:20. You can find counterfeit worship. This is common. What do you think all false religions is? It's counterfeit worship. They're not worshiping the living God. Some claim they're worshiping God, when all the time they're worshiping false gods. Now look, the devil's a master of deceit. He'll get you believing you're worshiping Yahweh or Jehovah or whatever you want to call him or her. But it's still demons. The only way you're going to really worship the true and living God is to be born again, filled with the Holy Spirit of God, and walk right according to the Bible. And keep yourself unspotted from the world, and don't get involved in idolatry and adultery, both natural and spiritual. If you can do that, you can be well on your way knowing you're worshiping the true and living God. If you deviate from that, as the New Testament Christians did constantly, there was always having false teachers, false apostles, all this demonic stuff going on. It's nothing new. It's here today. It didn't die out. In fact, it's more alive than ever before. Satan is more alive than ever before in the church today. Why? Because Christians are sleeping and slumbering and slobbering. They don't want to know what I'm teaching. They'll turn me off the radio. They'll throw my video in the trash can. They'll get fuming mad, and they'll call me names. They'll call me a false teacher. Say, I all passed away. I don't believe any of it, General Jim Green. Go ahead and believe that. What's making you mad? The devil? What makes you mad about reading the Bible, these things? People get absolutely perturbed and mad, fuming mad. What is it? It's Satan in you. It's demons in you. This way. You need deliverance. You've got a lot of devils packing around. You don't need them when you get mad about the truth. The truth will set you free. So instead of running to God getting deliverance, they'll run off to the sorcerer and get medication because it's legal and it's acceptable. You go to your sorcerer and you get demonized through drugs and spells and potions. They might even throw a little bottle of perfume in there for you that's been offered to some satanic god or goddess. I'd like to say this is an interesting subject. It is, in a sense, to let you know that the demonic world is very real. And a way, especially in America, the way demons work here in this country, they get you to think it's just entertainment, it's just fairy tales, it's just fun. But in the real world, such as Nigeria and some of these horrible places that we've been, India, and some of the seas, island of the seas, and it's universal. But there's so many places where witchcraft is so strong that people literally are in bondage for generations in fear and offering up whatever they offer up to these demon gods to appease their anger and their wrath and all this. People have lived centuries in this gross darkness, and we over here in this nation play with these things. These things are real. The occult world is real. You think it's funny, it's not funny. You are cursed by God and by Satan doing these things. You don't have to go preach this, convince people in these lands I'm talking about. They know they're under curses. They live in fear. Over here it's a big game that everybody plays in America. Get you little Ouija boards and get you little curse bags that you can buy at the store and get you little videos, of the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and all these stupid things they've got out there. And God told us just a couple days ago, He says when Mel Gibson made that movie Passion, and he said He opened up, a way was opened up for the Christian world to have a passion for more entertainment and to make movies. And we're seeing that now happen. That movie was made because Gibson had a desire for people to understand what Jesus did for us. Although he's a Roman Catholic, he did a good job on that. But you see what's happened now after the Passion. Now everybody is flooding the market with quote, Christian movies. And Christians now have decided we're going to go into movie making. And I know 3 big ministries in America now are pledging full-time to raise people up, teach people how to make, quote, Christian movies. It's all for entertainment. It's seduction. Now, if they made real good movies of commentaries and true stories and factual things, I'm all for that if it will teach you something. But some of this junk is baloney. The end of the world, Armageddon, the rapture, Left Behind,